Hi, and welcome to today's segment of Our Ventura TV. My name is George Alger. Today we're going to be talking about cat cafes that are all around the world. And our guest today is Peg Hicks-Moore, who owns a cat cafe right here in Ventura County. Welcome, Peg.
Thank you, George.
So what is a cat cafe?
Cat cafes started in Asia, where people lived in apartment complexes where they weren't allowed to have cats. So on the ground floors of these apartment buildings were general merchants and restaurants, and some of those restaurants discovered that if they had cats roaming around their cafes, people would stay longer, come in specifically to pet the cats, and provide a service that way for people to hang out with cats and have a cup of coffee or tea. That's why even here in the United States, they're called cat cafes, even though a lot of them are not full service restaurants, because our health codes are much different in the United States than they are abroad.
Okay. Do you happen to know when it started in Japan?
I would say 50 or 60 years ago for the first one, so it's been fairly unique. It's been in the last century. It's not that old.
Wow, very cool. Now, do you happen to know how many countries they're in now?
Oh my goodness, they're in almost every country. And in the United States, there was one like in Washington, D.C., and one in Los Angeles, and now, just in the last couple of years, I'd say there's over 100. So it's quite a prolific growth in the United States.
Okay. And do you find that due to the uniqueness of the circumstances, it's attracting people mostly for one time, or that people who go to a cafe tend to want to continue to go to it?
That's a good question. People who come in once thinking that they're only going to want to come in once tend to come back on a regular basis.
Okay, and the cats are just roaming freely?
It depends on the shelter relationship with the specific cat cafe. Some of them, they are in cages in the back, and some are not. So you can have a cage-free, range-free experience. It's a little more difficult to do that. There's an indoctrination process that needs to go on for a few days to acclimate the cats to an environment. But I think that it's a way for the animals to feel more natural, like they were in a home environment if they're not subjected to being put in a cage at night.
I'm not a cat expert, but it seems to me some cats can be pretty territorial. How do you mix a variety of cats together in an environment like that?
I find that if you take an animal and you put it in a smaller confined space, for example, I get a lot of questions about somebody who already has a cat and they want to have another cat, and they don't know how to introduce them to each other. So we call the cat that's already living with you your resident cat, and then there's going to be a new cat. So I suggest what I do is what people should do who want to adopt another cat. And I put them in a small room, like a laundry room or a bathroom. I use an office space where there's a gap under the door so the kitties can put their paws underneath it and smell each other and maybe eyeball each other just a little bit for a day or two. And you take a sock and you wipe the resident cat and you wipe the cat that's inside, and then you wipe the cat that's in the office or the laundry room or the bathroom, and then you wipe it on the resident cat. And that transfers the smells. So when these cats actually meet each other face to face, they say, "Oh, I know you from somewhere. Have we met? Are we related somehow?" And it actually works very effectively. So we do that in addition to then, after, that would be like for a 24-hour period. Then the next day, you open that door and you get two little door stoppers, one on each side, so that neither of them can push the door open. And you feed the cats on both sides of the door at the same time. So they know that there's enough food to go around and that their food isn't going to be threatened. So you can do that for a day or two. Some cat experts recommend that you do this process over a period of weeks. I have found success in only 4 days. So the second day, you do the food thing. Now, if you can, and this is your home, on the third day, you take your resident cat and you stick them in the laundry room or whatever that smaller space is. And you take the new cat and you put it to wander around the house. Cats have scent pads in their paws, in their cheeks, So the cat is going to go around, the new cat is going to smell where the other cat has been, and he's going to or she's going to rub her cheeks and have her scent pads on things. So then the next day, you switch them back, and the new cat says, oh, there's been another cat here. I think it's that cat that I smell like, and I think it might be the one that's in the laundry room that I'm playing footsie under the door with. So then on day 3 or 4, you can open those doors. I always have, just as a precautionary measure, a bottle of water in case I need to squirt one of them, a squirt bottle, and a pillow, maybe in a blanket in case I need to fling a pillow out them to break their gaze if they're starting to get their hackles up and get nervous. But I haven't ever had to use it, honest. I haven't had to squirt them. By the point of rubbing each other's scents on each other, transferring their space, letting them see that space, they feel comfortable with each other. And on day 3 or 4, I open the door, and the new kitty comes out and greets the group, and the group greets the new cat, and it's all good.
Great. Now, where do the cats come from that populate these cat cafes?
Ordinarily, some in Japan, they will have specialty cats that are like $10,000, and people want to go in Tokyo, and they want to have their picture taken with this incredible cat. Okay, that's not the way it's done in the United States, I don't think anywhere. The cat cafes in the U.S. use shelter animals, and some have a dedicated partnership with one. Our cat cafe isn't like that. We have multiple shelter partners. In California, there are so many cats available and shelters available. I really have my pick. So I work with the local, the county administrative offices to take a look at the cats that are available. The criteria for a cat cafe, I think that's the most effective, is the cat has to be domestic. It can't be an indoor-outdoor cat, because if you open your cat cafe door, the cats are going to jet to the outside. It's good to have a buffer zone, perhaps, as a gift shop or the coffee shop area, where there's a double door, so in case there's a sneaky Pete who wants to get out, that they won't be able to. But I think it's a good idea to have just domestic cats, indoor-only cats available to the public. One thing I'd like to add is that cats are going to have their 9 lives shortened if you let them outside. In our area in particular, well, everywhere, it's by death by car. And for Ventura County specifically, it's death by coyote. So, and that actually is prevalent around the United States. I talked to someone in Massachusetts who they said they had a coyote problem, actually, which was interesting to me. But so we caution people to not let their cat be indoor-outdoor. People will say to you, oh, but she just wants to go outside. It's natural. There's grass and birds and things. Once you let your cat go outside, then they're going to want to pine away to go outside. But if you provide them love and affection and treats and toys and a warm window ledge to sit in and look out the window, they're not going to really have any desire to go outside. It's not a natural thing that you are setting up an unnatural, natural environment that they've been raised in since birth, and they're comfortable with that.
Got it. The mention you made a moment ago about the cooperation with shelters and the amount of cats that are available. So I guess that would suggest that people shouldn't bring their cats to a cat cafe.
This happens. It can happen in like the baby in the wicker basket left on your doorstep, and that's a big no-no. The shelters are designed to take in animals. They will spay and neuter them. They will give them their vaccinations. They will test them and give them inoculations for rabies. Those are all really important factors. And there isn't a cat cafe that I know of that doesn't require those specifics before any animal comes on their property. These are all animals that are spayed, neutered, up on their vaccination, and also microchipped.
Okay, so would it be appropriate to say that a visitor to a cat cafe shouldn't bring their cat even just temporarily?
No, because of cross-contamination. The cats in a cat cafe have been selected for their health, and you don't want any compromising of that factor. So cat cafes are not gymboree for cats. It's not a place to bring your cat to play. They're not boarding facilities, even though that sounds like it would be a great idea. It's not, because you're exposing other animals to animals that you don't know where they've been. Down to whether they have been dewormed or defleed. Those are all considerations that are taken into consideration very, very specifically and carefully in every cat cafe.
Okay, now for someone who is getting introduced to this idea of cat cafes and actually thinking, wow, maybe they'd want to do something like that, is this, does this entail all of the things that might be required to set up a regular cafe plus the cat limitations, or how does that work?
It's a really good question, and the answer is rather vague because it depends on where your location is, what city, what county, what state. Because cat cafes are so generally new in the last 50 years, a lot of counties, cities, and states don't have a clue. They don't know what to do with you. They don't know how to categorize you. So my suggestion is, if you want to start a cat cafe in your area, do your homework. Create a booklet about what your intent is and what you want to do, where there will not be a commingling of animals with food preparation, for example. Some states allow you to have food that is, you can grind your own coffee beans, for example. We cannot do that here. We have to have everything prepackaged. So Keurig works because they're the self-contained coffee that just has the puncture and then the hot water flows through it. Can we use real mugs? No, because you'd have to have a triple bay sink with a high temperature water for sterilization. So we use only paper cups, and generally that's the case for cat cafes. So every criteria is going to be different and will have to be met by both the city planning and then the county health department, and then there are state regulations for how food can be served. I've been very pleased in Ventura County that everyone has been extremely helpful on all levels to make sure that I do it right, that I cross my T's and dot my I's, and it works. As long as you work with the government body, you would never want to lie or fudge or say you're going to do one thing and do another, because that's going to get you closed down before you ever open. You have to have open books, show them your plan, how you're going to manage, where the cats go. For example, we have, and I think the majority of cat cafes have, a closed off area where the cats do not go for the food preparation. Or not preparation, just cookies already in self-sealed bags. The cats don't go there. But people, once they have picked up or purchased, some cat cafes give you the food as a part and parcel of your entrance experience, and then other ones actually have different licensing and they can sell food.
Wow.
It depends.
So there are some things to know if you want to start a cat cafe.
A few.
Well, we're out of time, Peg, but if we could sneak in a website for viewers to find out more, that'd be great.
Sure, that would be wonderful. It's www.thepurfectcat.com, and that's THEPURRFECTCAT.com.
Thank you very much, Peg.
It was a pleasure. Thank you so much, George.
This is George Alger signing off for this segment of Our Ventura TV. Until we meet again.